Hello, this quick video will give you a few tricks and treats when it comes to working with PowerPoint. If you're hoping for small ways to up your presentation game, stay tuned. For my first trick, we'll start at the beginning. I like to prominently feature a link to my slide deck on the first several slides and tell my audience that this is the case. This allows my audience to not feel rushed while they're trying to copy down a link to my slides for future reference without impeding my ability to continue on, awkwardly wondering if I'm going too quickly for anyone else. The keys to doing this well are to make sure that it's noticeable and static. You don't want to move it around from slide to slide. I add mine to the top right corner of my slides because I know that's usually dead space for me. I use a text box that both contrasts and complements my slide deck, which you can format using the formatting options here. You also want to make sure that the font is large enough so that you can maximize engagement. You want the people in the back of the room to be able to see it too. Make sure the font is clear enough. Depending on the font choice, a lowercase L can look a lot like a number 1, or the letter O can easily be mistaken for a 0. You also want to make sure that the link is short enough, so find a place to host them that has a nice clean link or create a tiny URL. I host my slide decks on speakerdeck.com. See the video description below for a link to another video I did on why and how to use that tool. I'll post a link to a tiny URL generator there too. Trick number 2. This next trick is key for making longer slide decks more accessible. Have you ever wondered what it's like to interact with a slide deck with a screen reader?
Slide 10. Uses of podcasting. Uses of podcasting. Public Services White Bullet U.S. Department of Justice. The Beat podcasts on all facets of policing. https://cops.us.j.gov/The Beat Bullet Centers for Disease.
If you have long slide decks with lots of text or lots of slides, you should definitely consider making a table of contents that corresponds to the various sections of your presentation. This enables someone with a screen reader to skip ahead to certain sections of your presentation without having to listen to every last slide or skip through and listen for the next part that they need. To do this, you'll need to list out all of the sections of your PowerPoint presentation on a blank content slide. Then you'll highlight each section and click Insert, and then Hyperlink. Then you'll choose to link to a place in this document, and you'll choose the corresponding slide from the list that you'd like to link to. You'll continue down the list of sections until they're all hyperlinked to the first slide of each section. Now on to the treats. Treat number 1. PowerPoint has lots of little treats that I believe sets it aside from any other slide deck creator. Sorry, Google. One of these is the option to make your images look better. Anytime I insert an image into PowerPoint, I like to add a drop shadow to make it look that much more intentional and polished. But there are other options like adding frames to photos. You can find all of these options by selecting your image and then clicking Format under Picture Tools. Right in the middle of that ribbon, you'll see picture styles that you can hover over to preview or select. If you happen to have an image with a white background like this one, even a drop shadow isn't going to help. But you're in luck because you can actually remove that white background in PowerPoint without any other advanced tech tools. You'll select the image and under the same ribbon, click Remove Background. You might have to manipulate the removal space. On this one, I have to make sure that the removal dimensions match the dimensions of the original image. And then you'll click Keep Changes. If you did use a drop shadow before, then it even carries over to the image without the white background. This is such a very small thing, but it's incredibly satisfying, at least to me. And isn't that the whole point of a treat? Treat number 2. Another visual treat hiding in PowerPoint is the ability to manipulate shapes to make interesting visual moves. One simple and common one that I like to make is drawing a colored box around important information that I want my audience to focus on. You'll just insert a rectangle, remove the fill color, and change the color and thickness of the border to your preference. This is a really handy tool if you're working through a list of some kind with your audience, because you can just duplicate the slides as many times as you need to and use that rectangle on a different list item. So you can advance your slide, but it looks like it's just your call out that is moving. But pro tip, make sure that your list is complete before you duplicate that slide and create this effect, or else you're going to have to go back and make the edit on every slide in the list or start over. Ask me how I know. You can also use this feature to create a pause and draw attention before moving on to a new concept. This is particularly handy if you're using a slide deck for the basis of a video. First, you have to duplicate the slide that you want to pause on. This is all created with rectangles and text boxes. I started with a large slide-sized black rectangle with the transparency set to 50%, which you can get to by clicking on Format, then Shape Fill, and More Fill Colors. I then added a colored rectangle in the middle that matched the theme colors throughout my presentation, and I layered a white text box over it. That gives a great highlighting feature that seems seamless when you're in presentation mode. My last treat is something called Smart Art. You'll see these throughout my presentations. If you have some sort of process, list, cycle, hierarchy, what have you, Smart Art is an amazing option. There are lots of design options, and then once you choose the best design, you can format colors and aesthetics. The best thing about Smart Art is that it auto-formats with the amount of text that you include, and this can be extraordinarily handy to create figures for publications, because if you start with a completely blank slide and make the Smart Art the size of the slide, then you can export it as an image and import that into whatever document you need, or upload it to a publisher's website separately. This is just one other reason that PowerPoint stands apart from any other slide deck creator, in my opinion. I hope these tricks and treats for PowerPoint have been useful and pleasant to learn. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.